Yo, 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 what's going on? It's the NRW, where nerds rule the world. It's your boys, Kuya P, the Babinka boy, the Adobro, leader of the Holla Holla homies in the Center Gang, aka Patrick Michael Strange. And of course, my review man, the review master, Rob, the movie guy. What's up, Rob? How are you, brother?
Oh man, I love that intro. I love your intros now, man. Your intros are like fire, man. And
yeah, I need to create some more like some nicknames for you, because my Filipino-ness from the Showpa show I've carried on over to other things with
of course,
the Dobro Babinka boy. So I need to I want to come up with some cool ones for yours, but I got to make sure they're appropriate, because even though I know you're Latino, I don't want to be calling you some Latino-isms and be like, man, that's racist, bro.
My
like,
amigo, that's not racist.
You know what I'm saying? That would come off a little bit.
My compadre.
Although Philippines was colonized by Spain, you colonizers.
Well,
but you're not exactly Spanish. You're Cuban, right? No, you're not.
Man. No. Oh, I'm not mad that people say I get called a lot of things. And believe it or not, the one thing I never get called is Nicaragua, because I'm Nicaraguan, but everyone else called Mexican, Salvadorian. I was like, no. There are other countries. You do know that, right?
Exactly.
Like, where you from? Nicaragua.
Bruh.
Never heard of the country. Trust me.
I get Puerto Rican 24/7, to be honest.
I can see that.
More than I get Filipino, which is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And what was funny, we're totally going on a tangent right now.
I know.
But you know what? I'll save it for another time. We'll have fun on another time talking about racism. It's crazy, right? Yeah. Anyway, we got a great film today that we're going to talk about, bro. I was very pleasantly surprised when I finally checked this film out. Let me give a shout out to the studio, man, Vertical Entertainment. Vertical, thank you for reaching out to us with this film. It's called The Get Together, y'all. It's a coming of age comedy. But before we talk about it, why don't I just show you the trailer? So here we go. The trailer for The Get Together. Here we go.
McCall! Do you want to watch a movie tonight? Clark still has to sign out of his account so we can... Where are you going?
I have a work thing.
What?
On a Friday night?
Adulting, it's so dumb. Everyone's just trying to be an adult so quick, and it makes no sense.
Why is everyone rushing so fast? To go where? What are you gonna do?
I totally remember how it was when I first moved here, and if you want to meet some people, this party is probably gonna be fun.
August? Whoa, what are you doing here? I am so sorry. I'm sorry. I tripped. I'm sorry. August!
You're not gonna guess who's here, actually.
I'm literally not gonna guess.
Betsy.
Oh my God, what are you doing here?
She just walked in with her new slam piece, Damien.
He's like the sweetest guy. Yeah. You guys would never get along.
Damien, for the love of God, tell me you are calling from the driveway.
I'm about to propose, I swear. It's just that Betsy, she wanted to stop by this party and...
Did I hear that right?
No, Lucas, you can't. You're proposing. No, Lucas, you can't say anything, okay?
Oh, dude, mum's the word. My cousin hit this guy with his car, and I didn't say anything for like a week.
Listen to me! Next person that even puts a pinky in that pool is out of there!
Damien!
Does this mean we can swim now?
Shut the...
I lost the ring. You lost the ring?
Lacey, not a big deal.
Okay, but I do know him, so it's totally no problem for me to just...
Okay, Lacey, you are not above rideshare protocol. I'm gonna do it. Okay. That was a really good talk.
Okay.
I'll see you later.
Right, boom, there you go. The Get Together. Just to break it down even more from what you saw, the movie follows the lives of 4 mid-20-year-olds that intertwine at a Friday night house party in Austin, Texas. August, played by Courtney Parchman, is a quirky recent college grad struggling to find her footing. Damien, played by Jacob Artiste, is in town from NYC with his girlfriend, Betsy, played by Johanna Brady, and plans to propose. Caleb, played by Alejandro Rose Garcia, / Shaky Graves, is a directionless is a directionless musician whose life unravels after letting go of the love of his life. Each of them attempts to navigate the often difficult and hilarious problems that come with growing up in the modern world. The film stars Glee's Jacob Artist, musician Alejandro Rose Garcia, aka Shaky Graves, Johanna Brady, who is in Easy A and Quantico, Comedy Central's Courtney Parchman, and Stephanie Hunt is the front woman of Buffalo Hunt, and Uller Coltrane, who is in Boyhood, and this film is directed by Will Bake, who is a New York Times critic pick for the film Believe Me. So, for the most part, generally not your big A-list, B-list stars, but I think to me is the gold of this film. I'll find out what you think in a second, Rob, but when you don't come with like a preconceived notion or like a already a built understanding of certain actors that I think we all do. Like you expect Jim Carrey to be this, or you expect De Niro to be like this. When it's kind of stars that you're not too familiar with, you're a little bit more open to the imaginative creativeness that this film is going to present to you. And so to me was the goal for this film. I really felt these characters existed in this universe for me. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it before I throw it to you, Rob. I loved it. I enjoyed it. Very pleasantly surprised. But those aren't my initial thoughts, but just the quick hot take before. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place right now. I really enjoyed this film. Rob, what was your initial thought going into this and just thoughts in regards to this project?
So I did not hear about the project until you brought it up to me. And so I saw the trailer, and the trailer gave a good idea of what to be expecting with the film. What I didn't expect was that whole like cross interpathing with one another with each character, because you do have some segments with the characters, which I didn't expect for this movie. But I initially thought it was just going to be kind of like a very general story, but, maybe, done well. But it was way better than I expected. The first, I would say, 5 minutes of the movie kind of gave me a different impression of what I would be expecting with this film. But as the film progressed, it just got better and better and better. And the characters in the film were way more interesting than I ever anticipated. Some characters I thought were kind of leaning towards like a very generic path, but they were way more colorful than I anticipated to. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I thought that was the biggest surprise of the film. And yeah, the cast is 100%. Man, they are really, really good at what they do. I did recognize the actor who played Damien. I was like, I saw him in the movie. I was like, I know I've seen him from somewhere. And then I looked back and I was like, oh, he was in Glee, because I used to watch that show. And I was like, oh, of course, that's where I remembered him from. I haven't seen it in such a long time, so some of the faces were I've forgotten. But anyways, yeah, he was great. I loved it, man. And what was surprising is how short the film really was. I didn't expect it to be that short. It felt like the thing is that it was such a fulfilling story, but there was so many stories to tell, but it told it effectively in such a short amount of time. And I was like, if some films like this can be done, why? I hate to do this here, but why can other films do the same thing too? Like, what is it about stories like these that filmmakers that clearly are very passionate? The actors are just as passionate too. What is it about these little projects that are often overlooked? And I hope that's not going to be the case here, because this movie deserves that attention. I seriously hope that we could bring that awareness to this film, because this movie's fucking awesome. I loved it.
Yes. Yeah, man. We see a lot of indie films as reviewers, and to find to me, like this gem amidst the rubble that is indie film sometimes, was enlightening and enchanting. It makes you fall in love with films again. You know what I'm saying? Because there's so much product that are out there. So when you see something like this as a film fan, and it just makes you fall in love with the craft. And so I want to shout out the director, who I believe was also the writer on this. Yes.
Will
he's a co-writer. Bake. I'm not too familiar with him. So he was co-writer. Michael B. Allen assisted him. But just outstanding. Like, I want to, when you find films that you really enjoy, you want to like see more of their work. And looking at him right now on IMDb, he's done a couple of other shorts. I think this is his first big feature. He's done some documentary work. Outstanding. Like, he really put his foot in, and to also this type of film, what I wasn't expecting. And like you pointed out as well, that we were going to get like a part 1, part 2, part 3, where it kind of shifts around, kind of, I don't know what this. I'm forgetting the name of like this particular kind of trope or formula. But
yeah, I always refer to it as like the Quentin trope.
Exactly, the Pulp Fiction style,
right,
where they call you tell different sides of the same story, and they all come together at the end. Really well done. So that's like, if he was from that school, Will Bateman, you succeeded. I really enjoyed how it all came together, and he brought the parts that intertwined, and again, and characters that each had purpose. You know what I'm saying? Can you speak on some of your favorite characters, Rob, that you enjoyed?
Yes.
Yeah, let me hear you about.
I can start off with the character. I'm gonna forget his name right now. It's the guy at the party. I think his name's Lucas.
Yes,
the guy
played by Chad
Lucas.
Warner.
That guy was awesome. That was a guy that I was kind of expecting. Oh, he's probably gonna be kind of like that annoying guy, but he was actually a lot more interesting. And you felt for guy. Are we gonna get into some spoilers here?
Yeah. We can do that.
Okay. Well, I was expecting him to be kind of like just a generic character, which surprisingly he wasn't. That wasn't the case at all. He was actually a very a much needed charm to the film that I thought really kind of helped elevate the story too, in providing like an interesting insight of pointing out some of the flaws that Damien had as a with some of his approach with talking to people in under a stressful situation. Like that kind of like highlighted for me like the flaws of Damien, what this guy with the characters Lucas involved. But he had some of the funniest lines for me in the movie, and I actually liked the character of August too. As annoying as I thought she was in the beginning, but when you got to know her a little bit further, I actually started to feel for her and started to appreciate the full, the epiphany that she has, if you will, towards the end of the movie. So because everyone at the end of the film basically had it kind of goes through their full their inner turmoils and then come to a conclusion of like having to move on from whatever stuff was holding them back. And I think this movie did that effectively. But those are the two standout characters for me that come to mind, Lucas and August. Caleb was great. I think Damien was also good too. For me, those were like the four standout, but the two for sure are Lucas and August for me.
Yeah, you know what? I'm with you. Those are my top two as well. But again, the entire cast played their roles and were outstanding. The story starts off. The first arc is between August and
McCall.
Lacey.
McCall is her name. Yeah, McCall is a roommate.
Oh, McCall. Yeah, McCall and August. You know, they grew up. They went to college together. They graduated college. They moved together to Austin, Texas. But yet, very real stories. That with friends, and then the evolutions of friendships. And McCall gets a job, August doesn't, and so that's kind of like their arc. What do friends do when one succeeds and one still's kind of chilling? And so that was let's kind of break that down. So the first part with that relationship, a funny scene with trying to catch a mouse at the very beginning, and then just seeing it was just outstanding, man. They played the roles to the hilt. It was a good balance. And then when they brought in these other ancillary characters to show the differences between the two, a great opening segment. And then, like August is very cliched, but then she actually has some depth, as you stated, Rob, that you start to understand where she's coming from. She still has some work to do on her own. Like, she's still kind of back in those old ways, but she starts to see the reality that, I do kind of need to grow up a little bit. First part, your thoughts on the first part of the project?
Well, what confused me because the movie starts off part one, it says August. I literally thought it was talking about the month of August, because I thought, it was summertime, so maybe they're doing a timeline for the month or whatever. And then of course you find out, August was the name of the character. But anyway, so once I got past that, I appreciated the approach what they were taking with focusing on one particular story for the characters, and then as the film started progressing, you start noticing certain little important key points that happen in each individual story, that when you visit the other stories, some of those things that are said or have happened have an impact that they happen to be intertwined with. And I thought that was so interesting because, that those type of tropes that we've seen before can be done very generically, and it can be very redundant after a while. But for me, they took that approach and gave it a nice little identity, a uniqueness to it that I thought was very fitting, which I was all in for once the story started progressing, because we've seen stories like this countless times. And I will point out that in the first part, the story of her being like this Uber driver, I wasn't sure if I was really feeling that for a while. But again, when you understand her background, you're like, oh, okay, makes sense. She's using her ex-boyfriend's Netflix account. When they said that, I was like, okay, now I understand where this character is coming from. And then she gives them more insight too. Well, he's not really my ex, and I was like, oh, okay, so there's more complications behind that too. So little subtle things about the character that are revealed that you don't have too much. You have exposition on, but you still kind of have to put the pieces together for you to figure it out. So I appreciated that as a setup for the whole film as the story progresses. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that one.
Yeah, it's great writing. It's good connective tissue. It was like the cell phone that was left by Caleb in the car, the Uber ride, and then we transitioned from there to Damien and his girlfriend Nora's story, and then the final story is Caleb's story. And so it's like the ring, and then the ring takes you into Caleb bringing back the ring. Just great writing. Will Bate, man. Like I said, I was so enamored by this movie and enjoyed it so much. Like, I want more of your work, bro. And I kind of want to see a get together too, because you know how to. I think there could be more said with these characters.
Yeah, you could probably take this in a whole different direction too.
Yeah.
With other characters in the party too, or the events after the party. I think that'd be interesting. What do you think of the music though? Because that's one of the things about the film that I really loved was the music they used throughout the films. What do you think of that?
For the music, I don't remember the exact tracks that were used, but it went really well with the film.
Yeah, I thought so too.
It didn't. It's not like because how like certain films they use certain songs that are really well known. Yeah. That they kind of stand out more than the movie. To me, they went well with the film.
It complemented it, I thought.
Exactly. I love that. That's a proper word for it. It complemented the film. It didn't outshine the film and made you think more of the song than the film. It did what it had to do. I felt like I was at this party in this environment.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
Enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the second part of the story.
Second part of the story. I'll let you take on it. Go to the second part.
So the second part was actually where like the whole crux of the story takes place, because that's where everything really gets intertwined with Damien and Betsy. That was the girlfriend. And what was interesting was that when you get introduced to those characters, you see that there is a history with a lot of these people, with the two couples there, right? Well, sorry, with the two people in their relationship, that they all have ties with that town. And then we come to find out that Damon wants to propose to Betsy because he's in love with her. The part that I wish they kind of delved into more, but I understand just because of timing, was the fact that Betsy's father was in on this a surprise engagement party that they were trying to throw for her, which is where he was trying to get her to come to. But she got meet with the guy, Lucas, and he's like, hey, we're all having a party. Everyone's going to be there. They would love to see you. And she's like, oh, I didn't want them to know, but now that I'm here, now that they know, I'm going to go hang out. So it was like a very fitting reason for why they had to go. So it didn't feel like a forced situation. And clearly with Damien's expression, he's like, he wants to get the fuck out. It was interesting to get those onions start to get peeled back, and you realize that, oh, there's a lot more to that story. It was actually my favorite one out of the three, to be completely honest with you. Not that I didn't like the other two; they were just as good. But this one really was like the heart of the film, in my opinion, because that's where like everything centered around this story, in my opinion. And him going through the troubles of trying to find the engagement ring, and Lucas trying to help him out too, where he really also shines as well. And then at the end, Damien ends up proposing to her, which was kind of like a happy ending. But again, it just never felt like a forced situation. And, going through the party tropes of a party film that you've seen before, this definitely kind of takes a dial back and lets the characters, really shine through the moment. So that's why I think the story really does its best in those segments there.
Definitely. I echo all of that, man. Great part there. Before I get into part two, man, one of the characters that kind of really shined, I want to bring up real quick in that piece, was we got the introduction of Lucas that you and I both really thought was amazing. Was very cookie cutter, and then had more depth as the story went along. so just made us enjoy him as a character. But a real stereotyped character though, but just was hilarious. That if we get a part 2, or if they do another, you know what I'm saying, story with these characters. What'd you think of Garrison, the homeowner of the party place that it was going down? He was very stereotypical party guy, old man party guy. Don't get in my pool. He was very just on par with he had to be, but also at the same time he did have a little bit of depth. He's like, I'm about everybody can party, just don't go into my room and don't go into the pool. What do you think of Garrison, man?
He was, to me, he kind of served as the punchline, but in a good way, because he was the guy that was like almost like the voice in the room, if you will. Like, hey, everyone do your thing, but please just don't grab my shit. Don't destroy the stuff. And for the most part, most people were pretty respectful. That's the thing I liked about the movie, because that you have those tropes in that setup, but it never really like overdoes it. It doesn't take it that direction where they're really trying to like make it bigger than it actually really is. Because I've been to enough parties in my life where people have been told do not do these things, and it never really escalates beyond what you see in that film. I mean, maybe once in a while a fight will break out, but you know, it's one of those things that it's not, Hollywood makes it seem much more bigger than it really is, but in reality it's not always the case. And I think this movie does like a perfect balance of that. So that character for me is like the guy that's in those parties that we've been to before. Maybe not as exaggerated, but we know people like that at those parties. And I've met many people like that in those types of parties. And sometimes they're nice, sometimes they're not. But, you know, he was the voice, in my opinion, when it came to all the other characters in the movie. Like, he was the guy that was like the most reasonable, if you will, to an extent.
Yeah. And even though they spoilers, they fall into the pool again. And the winner, by de facto of him losing his contact in the pool, just was like, he's like this loud, you know, badass, but then, you know, he's still, you know, oh, my contact. Like, it was just still grounded. Like, I really enjoy these characters, man.
And his roommate, I forgot his roommate's name.
Oh yeah,
he was like, you know, hey man,
at the front,
you gotta be nice to these people. He's like, but they're stealing my shit. He's like, yeah, but you know, we can't yell at them. And then, you know, like, that's another added voice in there too, that like kind of balances out that eruption that's about to escalate. And it's about to escalate at that point. So like for me, the movie like definitely pretty much like kept everything on an even keel for me. So that's one of the big things I've noticed about this movie, which I appreciate, because, you know, as I said before, these characters could have been very generic, but they're not. They're actually really very intriguing, nuanced, and very interesting characters. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think in a bigger film, a bigger studio film, they would have made Garrison much more badass and made him fight people and hurt. You know what I'm saying? Because people want to see, or they think the media, the general public wants to see big brawler battling type characters and not sensitive. You know what I'm saying? He had a roughness to him, but at the same time, he was still, I want everybody to have a good time. Just play by certain rules. You know what I'm saying? So I think they by a film like this helps break down those tropes that you can be nuanced and so on and so forth. But we got to get to part 3. So my apologies on sidetracking. No, I just love these characters, man. Vertical Entertainment, you did an outstanding job. This took me by surprise. Part 3, we get Caleb's story. Caleb, played by Alejandro Rose Garcia, is the person that August was driving to the party in the opening segment part. In her Uber drive, he had left his phone, so that's what brings August to start off the part 1. But in part 3, we get to find out what happened to leading him to get to the party, and then going into part 2, he's the past love of Damien's soon-to-be fiance, Betsy. They actually were the reason why Betsy was in Austin, Texas originally, before moving to New York and all that. Spoilers. Yeah. But we get to understand Caleb's background and what had happened. And, you know, Caleb had the thing. He had everything. He found the woman of his dreams, but he was dedicated to music, to his craft. And that's what was the downfall to his relationship. And here they are finally meeting again. And what happens when you have these two forces that were once one colliding again? And we got to see that result. And how will that, you know, happen where she's in a new place and he's in a new place in life? And
he's
that
more like stagnant, though, I think, you know, at that point.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't want to spoil the very ending, but it was a great conclusion that built from all three of these parts together into the ending of the film. But again, for me, another great piece that made it all come together for part 3. What about you, Rob? How they finished it off in the final segment?
I thought that was a good ending too. As I already said before, you get everyone kind of goes through they're going through an epiphany at the party. It's always at the parties where you have these epiphanies, right?
Yeah.
So I think I don't know if it's meant to be some sort of metaphor. I don't know if that's the case, but it's a very fitting one, I think, to have these characters go through all these introduction of new characters that you probably wouldn't normally come across on the streets, but in an environment like this, you will. So I thought that worked to fit this narrative. Yeah, the character of Caleb, I like the fact that he was just an everyday guy. He wasn't like the rock and roll badass with the tall, long hair and muscles. He was just like a normal guy that we all come across, but that he had where he was obviously very polite to most people. So I appreciated that aspect of the character. But when you really got to know him, he was actually not that big of a douchebag. He's actually a really nice guy, but he was just so caught up with himself, and it took him a while to understand that towards the end, which I thought was very fitting too. So yeah, I appreciated the character a lot more as the story progressed. But yeah, I think that's probably my second favorite part of the story of the film. So the second part 3, and then part 1. How it's broken out is how I love the stories if I were to kind of categorize it in that respect.
Gotcha. So overall, man, final thought, I guess, on the film before my last question for you. Recommend this movie? How'd you walk away with this, man?
I definitely would recommend. I would go out and buy it, to be completely honest. I definitely would buy it. I would recommend the hell of it, the hell of out of the film, and I truly love this movie a lot. Like I really walked away feeling good from the story, and that's a good thing. Like if I can walk away feeling good about a film from watching a movie and having it stay with me like the way it did, I think that's a really good sign of the film. And this is a project that was done kind of outside the system.
Yeah.
And when you have that opportunity, despite the restrictions, you can you have a really good story to tell. This is a clear example of that, where you do it kind of against the system, if you will. And I think this is done. It's just handled beautifully. And I would recommend the shit out of this movie every day, all day, every night.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, man. As reviewers, as film fans, we watch a lot of movies, and we see the big tentpole studio movies that get promoted out the yin yang, and they come our way. And it's sad that indie films like this aren't getting that kind of a push. As I was kind of telling you earlier, I'm not going to mention the exact name of the larger tentpole films that I recently reviewed, but this film as an indie surpassed those films for me. I really enjoyed this film. I was escaped I didn't have preconceived notions as we do with most actors, that work on a particular project. I love that these kind of were not so well-known actors that they cast, and they all beautifully portrayed the characters that they were given. They play the roles. Also, the writer-director, Will Bake, gets a shout out for, creating such a great film in this regard and making it look,
it's a beautifully shot
like
movie.
A big budget film. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It has the nuance, the story, the actors. It deserves shine, like you said, man, and deserves that love and that push and that notice to be seen. It was really well done. And for me as a filmmaker, makes me fall in love with the craft again of filmmaking, that you don't need to have a big budget studio behind you. You don't need to have the biggest well-known actors. You just need a great story, a great team, and you can create magic like this film.
It's going to be difficult, but it can be done.
Yeah. It's the Get Together should be a get together type of film.
Absolutely.
You should get your friends together and watch this. It's a classic party style film. I would definitely recommend this to people in college, coming out of college. I would recommend it to everybody. It was a good film, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, man. Would you want to see a part 2? Would you want to see the additional stories of these characters?
I would, but if it never happens, I think I think it's good as an isolated film. I'm not against the idea of a sequels, but for a movie like this, it crossed my mind, like, could you do the characters justice by continuing the story? Because the Get Together Part 2, it kind of takes away from the original notion of that title for this film.
Yeah.
So, maybe you can kind of just take a little spin-off and do one story of one of those characters, possibly the least known, the one that most people tend to like, and create something off of that.
Yeah.
And, and have those little DNA strands from the other movie to kind of fit into that narrative to some degree. But, if you're going to do that, I think the spin-off route would possibly be the best way to go about it, in my opinion. But if they do a sequel altogether and they decide they want to bring all the characters back, I'm all for it. As long as the same people involved, they have a great story, I'm good.
Yeah, like Will Bake and Michael B. Allen need to get together to write it and let Will Bake direct it. Get Together Again. That should be the title. Get Together Again.
That's a great. I you know what, that I love that. Man, you are on fire, man.
Thanks, man. Just I really enjoy this movie. Pleasantly surprised. We get screeners all the time, and when one just kind of takes over and shines and makes you fall in love with the craft, dude, 4 stars, man. Really enjoy the film. Everybody that's watching this review, go check out the Get Together. Get together with your friends, watch it, enjoy it. I'll have links in the description below where you can go check it out because I believe it is out now. I think. I can't recall because I'm so busy, but I'll have the information in the description, and you'll see in my article that I'll be posting this with that information. I have to double check my info from the studio, but Vertical Entertainment, you killed it. Will Bake, you killed it. The entire cast and crew. Awesome. If you're watching this, you killed it. Rob will tell you it's hard to impress me. It takes a little bit to get me going, and this one did it. I really had a lot of fun with this. Rob, if you have any final words, man, let them know what you think and also how they can reach out to you, brother.
Well, I've already said my piece on how much I love this movie. So, check it out. I recommend the shit out of them. Where you got to buy it, rent it, whatever you got to do. Just pay money to see it because this movie deserves it, and I really believe in this film. So please spend your money on it. But you can follow me on my social media accounts. I have a Twitter account, RobMedina0585, on Instagram, Rob_Medina0585, and on Facebook, simply just Rob the Movie Guy.
Hell yeah. Follow my man, Rob the Movie Guy. He kills it. He gives you new film reviews. He gives you old school classic reviews. He does it all, man. I really appreciate you, Rob, and everything you're doing for the channel, man. Just good stuff. And we'll have more fun with additional reviews together. Me and my man talking it up. I'm really looking forward to it. And hopefully we'll get more amazing classics like the Get Together from Vertical Entertainment. For me, it's Kuya P. You can follow me at Strange Since 1977 or at Temple Far East. One of those is Twitter, one of those is IG. For the channel, the NRW, where nerds rule the world, you can follow us at the NRW and at New Release Wednesday. And if you also want to check out what I'm doing with POC content within pop culture, because that's what I'm all about, representing our shine in the pop culture sphere, you can check out at the Nerds of Color and my Filipinx Spotlight show at Show Pal Show. Kuya P, Rob the Movie Guy. Always a pleasure, Rob. Thank you for doing this with me, man.
Always,
hopefully,
man.
We'll have amazing content like the Get Together coming up. Yeah. We'll never know. Maybe show you, maybe not tell you. We'll let you know what's good and bad. This one, a lot of good. We had a lot of fun. Rob, I appreciate you. Vertical Entertainment, thank you so much. Go check out the Get Together. Get together with your friends and get together again. Boom. Cheers.